I see my name in shining lights. Yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host, Shalom Klein, has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
And indeed, we are all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business. And I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information that you will not want to miss. So let's jump right in. I'm so excited to be joined by Galen, the owner of Insurance Claim HQ. It is a property casualty insurance attorney operating in more than 7 states: Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, and Mississippi. That's quite a few. And they are unique, as you will hear in just a moment from Galen himself. Again, Galen is the founder, the owner of Insurance Claim HQ, an incredible organization. And certainly I'm looking forward to picking Galen's brain a little bit on the topic of insurance, which is a hot topic now at the beginning of this new year. Galen, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure. It is a pleasure. So I like to get to know the person behind the microphone. So I know you are a very successful attorney, and you've actually been rated as a Super Lawyers Rising Star and voted one of the National Trial Lawyers Top 100. So what interested you in this line of work? And tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so it was kind of a combination of ethics and morality, I guess, with upbringing, right? So I was up in Boston studying music. Definitely not headed down this path at all. And Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, which I'm not from. And I just decided it was kind of my opportunity. I wanted to go down. I wanted to help. So I gutted houses and helped out there, and then just was surrounded by all these people that had just absolutely been taken advantage of by their insurance companies. And I kind of felt this calling. So went to law school and ended up sitting here in front of you today.
And you have been described as an aggressive and relentless litigator. And I know, like we said, you're licensed in multiple states. So I'm really curious about this whole idea of insurance. I know you've become somewhat of an expert on this idea of certainly property insurance based on what inspired you to get into this line of work, but also insurance fraud. So why are insurance claims currently not benefiting the consumer?
So the long story short is, back in the 90s, a very, very large insurance company, one of the ones you see advertised all the time, decided that they needed to make more money. So they hired a big consultant company, and they figured out that if you don't actually pay your insurance claims, go figure, you save a lot of money. And unfortunately, then we had the economic crash in 2008, 2009. So all those executives went to all these other carriers. And 10 years later, after that crash, we find ourselves in a situation where carriers kind of take this wait and see approach to paying claims, as opposed to actually trying to get you back to where you were before the accident or the fire or the flood or whatever has changed your life for the worse.
Wow. And again, now I'm clearly understanding. I hear the passion in your voice, and I know you're passionate for helping people, helping the rights of policyholders and so on, which leads me to the next topic, which is insurance fraud. That might not be a term that everybody talks about until you start talking about it, and then it's something you know very, very well. So define it for our listeners. What is insurance fraud, and how can people protect themselves from it?
So the truthful, most basic definition of insurance fraud is anyone lying or making a misrepresentation to benefit as the result of an insurance transaction. But it's harder than that. What you think of, if you're listening, when you hear insurance fraud, is your house burning down and saying, hey, I had a bunch of big flat screen TVs when I really had little tube televisions. That is insurance fraud, 100%. What also is insurance fraud is when an insurance carrier intentionally lies or makes misrepresentations to avoid paying you. And that's the part that people forget about. And look, if you commit insurance fraud and you lie about your TVs, you should absolutely get in trouble for that. No. But if you hire a bunch of people to lie so you don't have to pay, you should also be in trouble. And that's an area where we've been really successful in our practice, is kind of pointing out that fraud and using that fraud to actually combat the carriers and ultimately get our clients relief.
Wow, I'm chatting with Galen here, the owner of Insurance Claim HQ. Again, we said an aggressive, relentless litigator who entered into certainly law school and this very successful practice with your partner at Insurance Claim HQ, protecting again families, business, property, and we've been chatting a little bit about insurance claims and what's right about it, what's wrong with it. We've talked about insurance fraud. So I'm curious now, getting into the topic for homeowners. Many homeowners have a mortgage. Why, Galen, should you never let your mortgage company purchase your property insurance for you? Why is that a bad practice?
So everyone thinks, I can't tell you how many calls I get where people say, well, I just got the mortgage company to get my insurance for me. They know what I need. That's false. They know what they need. So a lot of mortgage companies purchase insurance that doesn't cover your belongings, your contents, and those carriers will often just name the mortgage company as the insured. So in many states, you won't even have a right to file a suit or do anything if they haven't properly paid. And we see this all the time. Things like fires burn a house all the way down to the ground. We know it's going to cost $200,000 to fix that house, and that carrier will pay $15,000, $20,000. Well, if the mortgage company has only owed $20,000, $30,000, the mortgage company really has no incentive to hire a lawyer and file suit. So they'll just let it go, and you'll be completely up a creek without a paddle because you're not the actual beneficiary of that policy.
Oh, wow. Wow. And I want to change gears here for a moment, Galen. We're talking obviously to small business owners, to entrepreneurs, which you are yourself as well. So I'm just curious, in your experience, obviously it sounds like you've been on this journey of a lifetime in terms of protecting people, in terms of doing what you're passionate about, and you've done quite well in the process. What is that one business tip that you have for people tuning in from anywhere around the world?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that we've kind of founded our business on when it comes to finances and things like that is strategic planning. And I that sounds broad, but it's so important, because what happens is we end up in this reactive environment. We purchase something because we need something. We hire someone because we need someone. And if you do not take that time as a business owner to step away from your business and engage in real strategic planning, whether that's hiring coaches, getting the right people, like, we know where we're going for the next 7 years as I sit here today. And if you don't know that, it's very, very hard to grow your business absent just being lucky.
And I was about to ask, where do you see everything that you're building in 7 years? And certainly, I don't want to get into your business plans per se, but I'm curious, where do you see this industry when we're talking about insurance, when we're talking about even contractors and adjusters? What do you see changing perhaps by 2030?
Yeah, so by 2030, insurance is going to look similar to this, but add another 10 years to that, 2040, and insurance will not look like the way it looks today. Between climate change, as much as people want to ignore that, insurance companies are having bigger and bigger problems dealing with mass catastrophes. That's a big deal. And when you add to that the fact that from a regulatory standpoint, the lobbies for the insurance companies are just absolutely kicking the American consumer's butt and getting bad faith statutes rolled back, getting more protections for insurance companies and less protections for homeowners and business owners, I think you're going to see a lot of policies that don't provide a lot of coverage, and you're going to see a lot of laws that don't really protect you. So absent some real aggressive lobbying by the consumers, I think we're going to see insurance with very little bite in 15, 20 years.
Oh, wow. Again, we're hearing it from the expert himself, Galen Hare. We're going to share, of course, Galen's contact information in just a moment. But in the last minute that I have you, Galen, I'm curious again for the consumers, both business owners as well as families. How do you pick a contractor when it comes to working on your home and working on some of those many, many projects that seem to always pile up?
Carefully. Look, the stories of contractor fraud are out there. The best thing you can do is look them up. Make sure they're licensed, ask for real references. And then unfortunately, some of it is a smell test. But the more references you can get, as well as verification of license and insurance, you're sitting better than 80% of the consumers out there.
Galen, I've had fun with this. I've learned a lot, and hopefully our listeners have as well. I want to make sure that we get in touch with you because I know you've got a wealth of knowledge and information on your website. So in our final couple of seconds remaining, how can people learn more about you and your team on everything property insurance and property claims?
So the website's a great resource. We have a bunch of videos up there too that help you learn kind of what you need to know if you're going through an insurance claim. That's www.insuranceclaimhq.com. And if you need to get a hold of us, we're on all the social media channels, and you can even just call us at 844-CLAIM-84.
Well, Galen Hare, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. I look forward to bringing you back on many times before 2030 as we check in about the industry and learn more. Again, insuranceclaimhq.com, a wealth of knowledge, lots of videos, lots of information. We've been chatting with Galen Hare. We've got to squeeze in a very quick break here on the show, all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. You're listening to Get Down to Business. Check out my website, shalomklein.com, to listen to the past 8+ years of podcasts, all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.